will see that we are divided. But if anybody will also see this, I also everybody is involved. Position.
Change the logo to be on the same era.
Some of you who've been involved in the game as long as I have will remember that going back to Abu Talib and some of the old Egyptian players many years ago in the early 60s, we moved into an era where Jeff Hunt was competing with my former teammate Jonah Barrington, and then moved again forward to dominance by Pakistan in terms of players for many years, and then it kind of broke up. So it's interesting how we move forward and what drives success. And I think Omar, who's got his own squash academy here now, will give us some insight into how and why Egyptian squash is successful. Omar.
Good evening. I'm going to talk about the history of the Egyptian squash, rise, dominance, and the women in Egyptian squash, and then at the end we'll talk about the reasons for this. First, about a brief about the Egyptian squash history. Squash was introduced in Egypt almost 100 years ago by the British. Egypt was a British colony. It was introduced to Egypt then, and the Egyptian Squash Federation was founded in 1931. We had many champions starting the 30s. Just to mention a few, Abdel Fattah Amr in the 30s, Mahmoud Abdel Karim in the 40s, and Abdel Fattah Abu Talib in the 60s. Then came our, as I call it, our rise. It was started by coach Abdel Wahid Abdel Aziz. Unfortunately, he died a couple of days ago. He started the first Egyptian national team, Egyptian national junior team in the 80s. We all started training, and we had our first big event, big win in 1994 in the World Junior Men in New Zealand. That was the first real win for Egypt when we won the individual championships with both Egyptians playing in the final. And then we won the team championship in 94. And then we came same team, won the 1999 World Teams, which was held in Cairo as well in 99. Those were very big hits for Egyptian squash that I'm going to talk later about their effects in promoting the game. Also, Al-Ahram tournaments also started in the 90s. I consider them the biggest and the best squash tournaments and squash promotion that were ever done. I consider this photo is the best promotion for squash so far. The events were huge, were really covered very well by the media. It made squash very popular in Egypt and worldwide. Currently, this is the current PSA ranking. 50% of the top 10 PSA players in the men and women are Egyptians. Like the 20 players, the men and women, 10 of them are Egyptians. In the men, there are 6 of the top 10, including the top 4 in a row. In the women, 4 out of the top 10, including the top 3 in a row. I did a lot of research. I don't think any country has ever dominated any sport, not just squash, like Egypt is dominating the squash currently. If we talk individually about the top professional players, I'm going to always talk about the last 20 to 25 years. We had 7 world number ones, 7 players who reached world number ones, and 6 of them won the world championship. Shabana, Darwish, Rami Ashur, Karim Abdel Gawad, Mohamed Shourbaghi. And then we have the girls, Ranim El-Wuleli and Noor Sherbini. In the juniors, since 1994, Egyptians won 25 world individual junior titles for boys and girls. In the boys, we had 10 junior champions, Barada, Faizi, Darwish, Ashur, 2 Shourbagis, Marwan Tariq and Mustafa Asal, the current world champion. We have 7 world junior champions in the girls, Umnaya Abdel Awi, Ranim El-Wuleli, Noor Sherbini, Noor Al-Tayyib, Habiba Muhammad, Nuran Gohar, and Rawan Al-Arabi. And many of them won the tournament twice. If we talk about the Egyptian team and the team events, we won 22 world team titles in the last 20 years. 4 men titles, 4 women titles, 6 junior men titles, and 8 junior women titles. I'll give also a brief about the Egyptian women game. Surprisingly, until the late 80s, maybe early 90s, we did not really have a women game in squash in Egypt. It was all amateurs in very limited clubs. We did not have any girls tournaments in juniors, no women tournament. It was just an amateur game for the women. It wasn't really playing. I remember when I was a junior, it was just boys tournament. And then early 90s, even it's a funny thing. We had very few girls playing. They used to let them play in the boys tournament. For our junior tournaments, when I was playing under 12, under 14, it was mixed. We had like 40 boys and 2 girls, for example, in the event. But they used to mix them in the event so they can play. And then came Dr. Samiha Abul Magd, who also unfortunately died last year. And she was an amateur player. She was very passionate about squash and about women's squash and about the girls' squash. Also, she initiated the Egyptian national junior team for the girls. And she was a member of the Egyptian Federation. She insisted of having separate girls events, even with I remember there was like 4 or 5 girls. They used to play like a league or like round robin, not knockout. It was very few players. There was like 90, 91, 92, not in the 60s or 70s. And then it all boomed since then. Many players starting playing in Cairo, but more of them started playing in Alexandria. It's the city of female squash with Inji Khairallah, Ranim El-Wileili, and then going down now to Noor Shirbini and Rawan Al-Arabi as well, the world junior champion. They're all from Alexandria, and we have a culture of women playing squash in Alexandria. If you go to any of the big clubs in Alexandria, you'll see like 80% girls and 20% boys in the juniors and even the seniors. But it's really gone very well for the Egyptian women game. Then their big result came in the World Junior Women Championship in 2003, which was held in Cairo. That was the first win, real big win, also real big dominance for the girls. They won also, the final was all Egyptian, winner and runner-up were Egyptian, and they won the teams. And also people starting realizing that we can also win the girls. We've been winning the boys tournament and the men tournament, but that was the first time that, okay, we can win the girls tournaments too. And then, same girls, 2008, also world teams in Cairo. We won the team's title. But now we're winning the women. But just gradually, the Egyptian community and sports community and squash, they start realizing that, okay, we can win the boys, we can win the men, we can win the girls, we can win the women, and started rolling. I'll try to go in the reasons, because wherever I travel, all over the world, I'm always asked the same question. How did you do it? What's the secret? And it needs weeks of talks, and there's no one secret, there's no magic. Just many factors and right timing and maybe some luck as well. But it all came down together in the last years. I'll talk about the availability of the game. Squash was in Egypt. It was a very elite game maybe in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Very few private clubs and very few people playing. Now it's become, we have more facilities, more clubs, private academies, private centers for squash. It became more affordable. It's not now as just an elite game. It's now open for everyone. The academies are open for everyone. I'll just mention a few. For example, we have like my own academy. There's Black Ball Squash Club now, and there's Wadi Degla Club. Those 3 clubs on their own, they have more than 2,000 juniors playing squash between the age of 5 and 10. More than 2,000 juniors just in those 3 clubs and facilities. Those are more than enough to dominate the squash in the next 20 years. But the numbers are huge, and our main challenge now is the facilities. is not to market the game or bring more juniors to play. Just like we have waiting lists in our clubs and our academies to be enrolled in the game. For now, our main challenge was not to promote the game. Our main challenge is to get a supply for a huge demand now for the kids to play squash. The other thing is the role models. All the clubs now, they have 1 or 2 top 10 or top 20 players playing there. Everyone is training. All the young juniors, they see the top professionals training. They learn from them. They learn the training. They learn the tricks. They see how they live. They see the lifestyle, and they want to imitate them. But it's been very helpful that all the players are always available to train. The other thing is the former champions and the coaches. One of the good big advantage in Egypt, which also some of the countries missed or it didn't really work that way for them, is that all our former champions, all of us, we came back to the game. We came back to coaching. For example, like the team that won the world teams in '99 was myself and Amr Shabana and Amir Wagih. Amir Wagih retired. He became the national coach for so many years. After him, I was the national coach. After me now, Shabana is the national coach, and many other good coaches. So it was very good for the Egyptian squash that all the world champions, all the real good players, former professional players, they all came back to the game, coaching the juniors and coaching the national team and giving back all their experience for the youngsters. Another very, very important factor is the parents. I'm putting photos for the Shurbagis because it's just it's a very big example for the effect of the parents on the players. The Egyptian parents in squash are very, very dedicated. They're very passionate about the game. They're very, especially the mothers. They give huge time, transportation, logistics, everything. They're behind their kids all the time. There's a huge passion from the parents and the huge help that is given to their kids. So that's another big factor. Also, our local competitions now, especially the juniors competition, huge numbers and a big number of events every year. We have an event every 2 weeks, every weekend, and the following 2 weeks. Starting under 11, we have 256 draws for boys and 256 for girls under 11. And sometimes we have pre-qualifying for those events. But every 2 weeks we have junior events with more than 1,200 kids playing from under 11 to under 19. But I'm just giving you the number from under 11. 256 draws. It's bigger than the World Championship. It also gives the kids a great experience. They play many matches a day. It's very competitive now. When they start few years later going abroad and playing international competition, they're used to it. They have a very big advantage and they have an edge over their compatriot from the other countries. Another technical reason is, like, as I call it, is the Egyptian style. It's our culture. We're not really disciplined. We don't go by the book. We don't really follow all the instructions. It's not very theoretical for us. They don't, like the Egyptian players, they don't really care that much about how to hold the racket, how to stand, like that the position on the tee or the position, and how to move to the ball exactly like it was put on the books. We're more efficient. We're more creative. They use their mind to see how to win the point. They don't really think about how to stand. They think about how to win the point, how to put pressure on the opponent. We play in a more aggressive way. The attitude is different. The attitude is a winning attitude, is more aggressive attitude, more attacking game than the normal standard game. Another thing, this is maybe, it was maybe fortunate for Egypt, is this time of, like, the last maybe 10 years, it was a time of maybe a bit of a decline and weakening of the old competition. like squash in England, in Europe, in Pakistan, in Australia. Those were the real big countries in squash in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Squash is becoming a bit less popular in these countries. And now there is a rise of other countries like Malaysia and Hong Kong, and India. They're now the new competitors, but they're still, and the USA as well. They're still a bit younger. They're still having some good juniors, but not really developed. We're in a phase like there was a gap. Some older competitors going down, and the new competitors, they're still not up there. I think part of the reason of this huge dominance is like we're filling a big gap in the squash countries now. That's about it about headlines, and I would like to hear your questions or elaborate more on any topic you want. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Omar.